Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. I regret to report that both our Jedi Order and the Republic have fallen, with the dark shadow of the Empire rising to take their place. This message is a warning and a reminder for any surviving Jedi. Trust in the Force.
They've outgrown their age of rebellion, dulled the Empire's edge, defeated Imperial generals and the Pirate Queen's dredge. They've been soldiers and scoundrels, what's there left to be? How about lost acolytes looking for their force and destiny? There's a seer, hermit, investigator, and teacher. Better watch your back or a vibe or ring's gonna reach you. Will this team find the light or will darkness win the day? Find out with the heroes of the Hydian Way.
Previously on Heroes of the Hydian Way, Soldier Ward disappeared, leaving behind his teachings in a scattered set of holocroning crystals. He also left a confused legacy of a man changing with the times as the times turned to war. A legacy of strength of purpose, wisdom, abandonment, and paranoia. 4 travelers picked up his trail when they found the holocron and began to unravel the story. They learned from him from his memory embedded in the crystal. They learned about him from others, from those along the way who had known him. There are still crystals missing and questions unanswered, but things are drawing together. Join us this week as we follow The Seeker.
Welcome to Heroes of the Hydian Way. This is a Star Wars actual play podcast, and we're playing in Fantasy Flight Games' Force and Destiny system. This is inspired by Chronicles of the Gatekeeper, as developed by Tim Cox and Max Brook. This is Act 3, Episode 8, and I'm Ben, the GM for this adventure.
I'm Kesh, the Trandoshan Mystic Seer and Neiman Disciple. And it's, just me today. And then, otherwise, I guess, our Destiny pool for this little solo session consists of 2 light side points and 1 dark side point.
For the outpost, has there been any place where Kesh would be specifically trying to meditate?
Probably back in the Crystal Tree Cave.
Okay.
Because that place feels strong in the Force. Not that she necessarily uses that term, but it has this deeper connection to her. It's more natural as opposed to the facility itself. And she's already had that habit of communicating with the tree, even if it's been a one-way conversation.
That absolutely makes sense. The camera starts off and it's looking at a darkened pool that is showing on the surface the reflection of the crystal tree with its different lights flowing through it. It seems like colors are flowing through its veins, like sap through a tree. As Kesh is communing with the scorekeeper and the Force, everyone sees a little bit of a shudder in the pool, and the camera pans up, first looking at the trunk of the crystal tree, and then looking to Kesh. First, the ripple just causes a tiny bit of a tremble going through everything, and I would like to get a average perception check from Kesh.
Okay. That's going to be 2 yellows versus the 2 purple. And I netted 1 success and 1 threat.
Kesh is able to feel this vibration come through the ground and through the bench that Kesh is sitting on. As Kesh is feeling this, she feels also a wave of energy that feels like a bubble passing over Kesh and past Kesh. It expands out and then pops. So there's now that adjustment from what had been pressure to now just normal. But it doesn't feel like it was in the air, it felt like it was through the Force. With the threat, I'm figuring that a little tiny bit of an impatience boils in Kesh's mind. There's something that Kesh is remembering that she needs to do.
I think as soon as she felt the ripple, we have that close-up camera shot of her reptilian eyes opening as she's coming out of her meditation. She frowns, digging through her mind for that niggling sensation to figure out, okay, what did I forget, or what do I need to be doing? I think that's maybe when she has another flash of that red sand planet and that black onyx throne, a figure seated upon it from a distance, and then she's back. Then she's going to start going through the effort of standing up. And the access to the library is supposed to be in another one of these caves, right?
Correct. It may be connected to this one, but none of the four of you have explored this one deep enough to find where it connects over. The vision that you had previously had showed the entrance to the archive of the outpost. It was a meeting between a cave and one of the tunnels that the outpost has, like one of the formed metal tunnels.
She had originally wanted to hit the library with Koba, but knowing that he's otherwise occupied for the day, she's going to start looking around herself, see if she can find this entrance where the rock caves meet the metallic structure of the tunnel. So I think for the moment, since she already has tried to seek some of this stuff out, I think she's looking the old-fashioned way, Ben.
The impression that you got from your vision was for the outpost tunnels, they seem to be different for each of the different levels. There's the main level where the four of you have mostly been at. There's an upper level where there's a airlock or aqualock out there, and some of the more higher up, both literally and figuratively, bunks, like the station commander and whatnot. And then down below is
the generator room, for one. She remembers that one quite vividly.
But there's also a hallway off in the other direction. The style of walkway that's there, the more worn, the more easy to maintain. On the main floor, you've got something that looks a bit more like it could be in Coruscant or something like that for the top level, and a lot more windows and the like. And then on the bottom floor, it looks like something from a Corellian alley, where it's wet, or at least a little on the damp side, though surprisingly little fungus. It's where you've got tubing and piping, and because they're not wanting to put it all in a electrical causeway below the flooring, where you've got metal grating, and that can just get bad, especially for people without shoes, like some group. You've got like an entire wall of various tubes and piping, where the pipes and the conduit only goes down when it absolutely has to. Otherwise, it sticks up through the ceiling or goes laterally. There's the generator, and then there was a hallway to the right, but no one decided to go down it.
Fearing that's the direction she needs to go, but not wanting to believe it at first, Kesh spends some time in the caves we've already explored, just making sure there isn't an entrance she missed or something like that. And when I'm assuming her hopes are inevitably dashed.
Well, if Kesh is looking, then how about we get a force roll?
Okay.
Because the force might see Kesh through.
I generated 1 light side pip and 2 dark side pips.
I'm gonna go with that. The closest Kesh comes to finding a route down through the caves is getting to one of the walkways in the caves where there's path on one side and then a crevasse on the other. As Kesh is looking down the crevasse, because wanting to see like how far it goes or whatnot, Kesh can see a band of light along the other side of the crevasse. You can see that, yes, there is absolutely a second layer down there. It's further than just being able to dangle down by your fingertips and getting your feet on another layer.
But how much further down exactly is it in terms of range bands? Like, can she see a solid platform down there? Or is it like one of those... Okay.
The best way that I can describe it is it looks like you're seeing something about 3 stories down.
Okay.
Down the crevasse. Like there's a band of light on the far side. Everything's looking out against this relatively sheer cave wall.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking out and looking down. And as you're looking down on the far side, you can see this band of twinkling blue and green light that as you look like straight down the sheer side that you're on, there you see very obliquely the opening for another lookout onto the crevasse wall.
Okay. But there's not like I can't see enough of that opening to,
Not really. At best, it would be going with a Hollywood elevator shaft, trying to drop down a couple stories.
Well, I mean, that's not a problem. The problem is dropping into a never-ending pit.
Yeah.
That's the fear in Star Wars land. But if there is like enough of that outlook where she thinks she might be able to land on it, then she might try that, because you might remember she has a little power called Enhance.
I mean, there is that. It does look sheer. Like you're going past, you'd be falling/sliding along the side of the wall there. You'd need to be like a mountain goat to actually climb it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much that there's a ledge going out, it's just there's an opening there.
Gotcha.
So if you want to try to use Enhance, yeah, that could probably work.
I think she's gonna go check out the tunnel. She doesn't want to go down first.
I mean, that's fair.
Because Enhance didn't exactly work out so well for her last time either.
There is that, yes.
So we have her eyeing it up for a few moments, and then she just audibly groans, and is going to turn and start making her way back towards the entrance into the lower level that she dealt with before. Is it still as dark down there as it was last time?
It isn't quite as dark. Not all of the lighting is on down there, but it looks like every other light bank is on. So you can actually see you aren't having to pull out a glow rod or anything like that.
That's good, because I lost mine when I got electrocuted. As she goes down there, one other thing Kesh would do, Kesh would pull out her comlink and just give Skip a little call and let them know I'm heading into the lower level again, staying far away from the generator, no repairs planned, just seeking out the library in the meantime. But if you don't hear from me in an hour, come looking again, please.
As you step down onto the lower level, you see there had been one little mouse-type droid that the repair sort that had repulsors instead of wheels like the Imperial ones.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now it seems like a lot of the other ones have woken up.
Oh.
And there's several of them around. They all stay vertical, though several of them seem to be more moving along various other walls.
Mm-hmm.
The sides open up and little manipulator arms come out to start repairing things. It seems like they're going very lively at trying to repair things, seeming to get the place back into shape before the four of you have to leave again.
Do they respond to my presence at all? Like, are they alarmed, curious, or do they just go about their business?
Some of them are curious, but most of them are just going about their business. They seem to be pretty intent. The ones that are paying attention to you are either the more courier ones, where they're zipping between two different locations, or it looks like they just finished off what they were doing, and now, when they aren't working, they seem to really act like excitable puppies. So, as one finishes, they'll come keep pace with you for a little while, and if you interact with them, they'll...
Kesh would at least acknowledge the droid. You're doing some good work down here.
And then, yeah, they'll sort of angle up slightly and tweedle at you. Then we'll race off to another thing as it seems like they get a comlink signal of some variety, giving off a burst in binary and then off.
Yeah, so Kesh will be little careful moving through here. She doesn't want to accidentally step on one or anything, but otherwise then she'll let them continue on their path while she takes hers.
As you keep moving, you can see a pathway that would parallel the walkway from the hangar that y'all took. The one where most organics go is the glassed-in one where you can see that everyone's underwater. Here, it's square, boxy, wide enough that if you're careful, you could probably get a land speeder in.
Okay.
Going to be a very tight fit.
For a land speeder.
For a land speeder, yeah.
Yeah, so it's almost like a freight elevator in a way.
In a lot of ways, yeah.
Okay.
As you continue down a little bit further, off to one side, you can see several doors, and they all look very utilitarian to them. Mm-hmm. On one, you're seeing cold storage, another one is archives, and another one is medical storage next to each other. And then a sign on the wall opposite of those three saying mechanical, with a direction that, if you're to continue off there, you're pretty convinced would put you underneath the hangar bay that the land speeder arrived in.
Fair enough. What's in the archives room?
So here, it starts off with a relatively narrow hallway. Mm-hmm. This one is pretty cramped. It's not so cramped that Kesh is brushing up against walls, but the ceiling is low enough that Kesh is, for some of the dangling lights, Kesh is having to actually move her head out of the way. Mm-hmm. And it is on a down slope. It starts going down and then starts spiraling to the right.
I should have just jumped down the crevasse. She grumbles to herself.
It continues on for at least a full rotation of going down. Mm-hmm. You're pretty sure that it's a lot more gentle than stairs, especially the stairs that you just came down. As you're going down, on the outer wall, you can see a small bumper that goes along at just around waist height. It's small, it's relatively thin, but you can definitely see it going all the way down. Mm-hmm. On the inside, it isn't there. Once you get down, you're pretty sure a story and a half below where you started the spiral. Then there's what looks to be a ship's bulkhead door that is closed, and it has the old Jedi Council symbol. Bird wings with the single canted spire going up. Mm-hmm. To the side, a bare patch of metal that looks like a hand scanner, but also looks to be... It's really looking like it's trying to be a hand scanner, but also very obviously isn't.
So if it isn't a hand scanner, what is it? Kesh is going to start investigating that. Is it just a mess and doesn't work? Is it... does it require like a passcode? Is it something unrelated somebody left here? She'll try to... She's not very mechanically inclined, but she'll see if there isn't a way to unlock the door that way first. Before being rude about everything.
No, absolutely. So first, could I get I'm going with an average skullduggery or similar check.
All right. 2 green it is. Failure and a threat. Look, she doesn't know much about a lot of machines. She wasn't great with, modern hand scanners, and this is a particularly old one. So I think we have her tapping away at it, and she'll take the flat of her magno arm palm and smack it a couple times, trying to make it work, and growl and grumble.
So as Kesh is doing that, she'll feel that the plate is pure metal. It's flat, like it's been ground down and polished. It is 100% flat. As Kesh is banging it, weirdly enough, Kesh will feel something on the other side. Like there's a little bit of momentum that hits back after Kesh slaps it.
Like a spring?
Like there's something on the other side of it. Almost like that there's a door handle on the other side of it, but there's no way to get through the plate to the door handle.
Now, would that count as fine manipulation for, say, move? Or could the...
Not really, no.
Okay.
My intention is definitely not fine manipulation. It's like finding a stick and shifting it.
That's good, because she never took fine manipulation, but now I'm curious. I'm wondering if maybe this is designed to be a lock that only people with certain gifts can open. She's going to reach out and see if she can twist that handle telekinetically.
Okay.
4 light side pips and 1 dark side pip. I can't imagine I needing more than one of those, but if it's range, it requires magnitude or any degree of strength, I probably can supply it right now.
No, it does only require 1, but it is most certainly move. And as you twist the hidden handle, the door itself climbs up into the ceiling. You definitely hear the more metal on stone grinding than you've heard anywhere else. And as you do, there's the funk, 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 funk of lights engaging, going down. Unlike the very beautiful Jedi archives on Coruscant, this is what you'd expect from an archive in a submarine base. The ceiling is a bit higher than Kesh's head. Like, Kesh is easily able to reach up and touch the ceiling. Mm-hmm. The bookcases are floor to ceiling, and they're all packed in with their hollow spines that you just have to tap, and the reading book crystal is able to just slide out.
Okay.
Almost like Hal's crystals.
Should go ahead and step into this room, being very grateful that it's not underwater. Which had been one of her concerns coming in here.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the lights on now, she's going to set her lightsaber staff to the side and is going to start perusing titles.
Towards the front, you definitely do find essentially a new arrivals section.
Okay.
Or something that kind of fits that, where you can find a lot of journals here. And most of the things that you're able to find here are journals. Mm-hmm. Quest journals, or the journals of locations. Like, you're able to find an entire bookshelf of DAC Outpost 3's logs. Each book seems to take up about 10 years, and there's a bunch of them. In fact, it's an entire bookcase of them. Otherwise, you're finding logs of expeditions, logs of other outposts that are... And when looking in them, it's like, on this day, we helped out a farm that's nearby, did this work, and very matter-of-fact stuff. Very little romance in how it's being communicated. Mm-hmm. Very matter-of-factly. Or at least for the most part, that's what's there. Until something of interest and import happens to whichever location it is. And like, you can flip through 20, 30 pages of any particular log, and they're mostly just going to be pretty standard reports. Mm-hmm. On this day, nothing happened. Then in each of these, there's at least something, not so much calamitous, but definitely something of interest happened. One has the time where a group of Purgles came to mate. Another one is of a crashed ship and having to search it and help the people, the survivors from it.
When do the logs stop, year-wise? Like, is this all... Would all this be prior to Ward's time?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I suspected, but wanted to double-check.
For any of the actual collections, they seem to stop about 200 years ago. There are some journals that are very sporadic for their time point, but that are more recent. Mm-hmm. when you pick one up, it looks like someone who was on quest who wrote down everything that was there up until this point, and most of them end with, "And the Force will see me through," or a sentiment very much like that. And then no further entries.
And now, you've mentioned about the logbooks, you've mentioned journals. Are using that as a synonym, or are the journals like different Jedi's personal accounts of...
I'm not using those as synonyms. I'm more meaning, like, journals are more, this is me on quest, whereas the logs are functional for what's going on at a certain location. Okay.
Something she would do, I don't expect anything would show up here, but it would be in her nature. She would look at some of the journals and would rule out the 2 names, well, I guess 3 names that she has encountered in her travels so far. One, of course, is Sojo Ward.
Mm-hmm.
The other 2 would be, if there's any Kenobis, and Skier, the Trandoshan Jedi she encountered in another vision.
There is no Ward. While there is a Kenobi, it is most certainly not the one that you encountered.
Okay.
And there is some of Skier.
Okay. She would definitely then pull the one that has the name Kenobi and the one that is listed for Skier, because she doesn't know when the Kenobi she encountered existed.
About that, I'm figuring that they would have at least it's not a holocron per se, but it would at least have a author's holo for it. So you pull it out, you plug it into the reader, and it would at least come up with a holo of their shoulders up. So you'd be able to say that, oh yeah, no, this is a different Kenobi than the one that you had been interacting with.
Okay. She'll probably spend a little less time with it than she does with the one for Skier, but she will investigate both of those just to see if anything of import came up, as well as maybe relying on her guts a little bit of, she encountered one of these individuals and that name in previous visions or encounters with the scorekeeper servants. Maybe there's something there, a lead, something. Because otherwise she's kind of shooting into the dark. There doesn't have to be anything important, but that's where her thought process would go, where she would start.
For the most part, Skier is describing the entire Nile saga, like going from their initial showing up with the Legacy Run disaster and dealing with the Drengir and moving on from there. Like, there's just so much that was going on about 200 years ago. Mm-hmm. Like, a Trandoshan Jedi is a very rare thing, and the thing that jumps out at you is most Jedi have felt the temptation of the dark side. It is only natural, but resist it. It is a deliberate path to the dark, not a series of bad days. Being a Jedi is about choosing the light over and over again. Most of the journal is about training Padawans in what starts off as what seems to be a natural disaster that turns into an engineered one, and then degrades into a that even brings in things like the Huck Cartel and the like, where it's some truly epic stories that are being described there, including how in the very start he had lost a limb, and initially starts with him being essentially relegated to watching Padawans while the arm regrew, and coming to terms with it.
I feel you there. She'll free to indulge her curiosity for a while, but after some time, I think she will go ahead and set that aside, realizing that is a distraction. It's not seemingly not sending her closer to her goal. And then, what else is down here besides the logbooks and the journals? When she kind of moves away from that beginner section.
I'm wanting to get another force check from Kesh.
Okay. 2 light and 2 dark.
Alright, that seems about perfect. If there is a card catalog for this archive, you're not finding it. But as you're seeing things, remembering one of the reasons why you got brought here, actually getting a flash of the vision, is You're drawn further and further back until you find it's almost hard to believe, but you come out to what looks to be a balcony, and there's a black void after it. As you step onto the balcony, you can see it go from this beyond black. The only light coming into it is the light that you're standing in front of, and it transitions and starts growing until there's a hollow there of the entire galaxy. This looks to be like it came from a astro navigator. It's more detailed than any galaxy map that you've ever seen. You've seen how like Navic computers store stuff and how it brings it up. You've seen how some of the more in-your-face navigation points will display things, how some of the bigger starports will have essentially you are here, and then all the ways that hyperspace routes that branch out from them. As you're looking at it, it looks to be the whole galaxy, and in front of you is a small display of being able to move around essentially a sphere within the galaxy so that it'll then expand. And that's out surprisingly on the far side of the galaxy in the outer rim of the galaxy. You can see where most of it's the standard hollow blue, the pale blue of a hologram. Off there you can see a green orb around a dot that you're very sure is a "you are here."
So is it more like a keyboard style input, or
there would be a keyboard there? There would be a joystick.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go with joystick. There'd even be some form of a touchpad there.
Control F. Wait, it's Star Wars, so very analog controls.
Oh yeah.
So she did kind of go through the galaxy in a way when she was doing her seek towards Moraband, and it's in the outer rim, I believe, correct?
Yep, that it is.
So I think she's going to go ahead and first zoom closer to where we are, which DAC, I believe, is also the outer rim.
Yep.
And then it's going to start, using that joystick to move the galaxy map. And she's keeping a lookout, trying to find planet she needs through one of its various names. Trying to use that vision as much as she can remember of that pathway to help guide her.
In that case, can I get Kesh to do a easy astrogation check?
Okay.
But because of the vision, I'm going to get you to upgrade it twice.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and flip one of those light side points to add a green here then. So then we're looking at 2 yellow and a green versus the 1 purple. I managed 2 successes and 3 advantages. Difficulty did not show up.
Fine, rub it in.
Sorry, I just saying she was a little worried about it, but apparently not as challenging as she thought it would be.
As you're following, you can find the overt grip link that hooks Mon Calamari / DAC up to the actual Permian trade route. And as you follow along that, because there's a thick ribbon coming from DAC, and then it breaks off and you follow a very small thread from there, and you can just get sort of a notion of it. Like, your hands are not entirely, like, they're under your control, but you're just sort of going by pure instinct with this. Then all of a sudden you are focused in on this one planet, whereas all the other planets in there are these little light blue stars, little specks of light in this. Then where this is, it is dark. The darkest shade of blue that you can think of. Like, it's almost black.
Is that section labeled or anything?
How do you mean?
So I'm following along, and I'm following those little dots from Mon Calamari out to this darker dot. Are these labeled along the way? Is this one I've kind of settled on labeled, or is it just I've kind of followed that feeling to this Yeah.
As you're following along, several of the dots are labeled Florn and Tula. As you're going, there's Brenroom. Then it's almost like there's this little out-of-the-way section that has little places that are labeled, but are also very fuzzy. And there's a Drummond cast and a bunch of other names. But then there's this one planet that's at this crossroads that is deeply dark blue, like almost as dark blue as the water outside, and it has no label on it. But you're also certain that this is where your vision had flown to.
Can this map provide the coordinates?
Yes. Yes, it can.
And Kesha's going to go ahead and bring that up and find something down here to copy it onto, a data disk, a data pad if there is one, piece of flimsy, just something where she can get a record of this.
Absolutely.
Then out of curiosity, does the system provide any explanation for that? Or is it just treating it like, oh, that's just, don't mind that. That's just not important.
Yeah, it is very much doing oh no, this is very not important, nothing to see here. Even though when you take a look at other places on there that is like a black hole or something like that, even that has a different look to it than this. This is as close to you do not want to look here as you can technologically without deleting it. Almost like Kamina, but not quite like Kamina.
Yeah. Something else she's curious about, but doesn't really have the tools available that Christine, might actually look up after this. It's the fact that it is such a crossroads between other hyperways is interesting. To then have a planet just stricken from the map in that case. She'll copy it down, pocket the data disk or whatever, and then with one last look, she'll shut down the display.
Okay.
So we have a shot of the holograms in that dark crevasse just all wink out, and we're back in the dark. And then she'll turn and walk back into the archive itself. Start to look at all the different holo volumes on the shelves, all these records and teachings and knowledge. She does ponder taking them, not for her own sake so much as out of a desire to preserve the knowledge, but then thinks better of it because we came to this place when we had no business doing so. There might be something here that somebody else needs somewhere down the road. So then she'll go ahead and step out and reach back using her gift and close the door, leaving it as much like she found it as she can. Start that long walk back up.
One of the nice parts about the walk up is that the incline is not much. So it's a very gentle incline for you to walk up. It's not like stairs or anything like that. It's not that draining to do.
Mm-hmm.
As you get to the door for the corridor, when you get up there, you can see one of the repair droids. It had been sitting on the floor. Then as you come up and come into view, it rises up on its repulsors and then sort of bounces side to side like it's trying to grab your attention.
Is there a problem?
And at that point, since it doesn't have a head, it's really hard for it to nod. It gives a sort of a whole body front up down and then starts off towards the hangar area.
Oh no, now what? Cash is going to start after the droid, not keeping pace with it, but will increase her pace as much as she can.
It's doing the dog trying to zoom thing, where it goes out a bit and then comes back, sort of making sure that you're still following.
Mm-hmm.
You go through this more gradual turn than it was up on the main level. As you go through that, then you now see a lower hangar bay for where space transports can be opened up and maintenance be done on them. not the smaller kind of repairs that were going on with the Falcon on Hoth base, but actually like unmounting of engines and the like.
Okay.
To the side, you see a personnel elevator. It's big enough for a single silhouette, one person to stand in, and it's got a 1-2 for the control slider. It either is on the level you're at or on the higher level.
Trying to save my knees, little one, she'll say to the droid.
You'll get a light trill of as it then sees like you're there, gives a list of like 30 degrees or so that it's like it's trying to figure out what you're saying. And then it starts opening up its side, and a manipulator comes out as it starts working on a siding there that it now seems to have gotten the directive to go try and repair this thing.
Okay. Now, just out of curiosity, besides the elevators, there's nothing else of interest down here. Like, nobody happened to leave a ship or anything like that conveniently.
No, there isn't a ship down here. There are definitely some parts that could be used to repair things, but there isn't a ship, and there definitely doesn't seem to be enough stuff to like turn the car that you were in into some form of ship either. But as you're looking around, you do hear the clunk, and you can definitely hear a huge amount of machinery above you being transmitted through the metal structure down so that you can hear it.
Do I know what my companions were up to with their days?
I'm gonna go with no.
Okay.
Not really.
So does this personnel elevator look like it works, or is that what the droid's working on right now?
It definitely looks like it works.
I'm gonna go ahead and give it a shot then.
Move the slider to 2, and it just starts. It's not the fastest elevator as your head comes up through the floor, you can see the rental land speeder that you arrived in, and you can still hear the clanging and machines working above you. Then as you look up, you see a gleaming tortoise-like ship starting to come down from the airlock above.
Does this ship look particularly familiar, or is this okay? So it's not just any Gatrak, it's
it is definitely the silver shell. It is gleaming.
How?
It is unmistakable. There's probably only one person in the galaxy who would chrome a Gethrock.
That's fair. Cash looks terribly, terribly confused and then concerned. She has no idea how this ship got here. And if it's here, then who knows what else followed it.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Heroes of the Hydian Way. You can find show updates on Twitter at The Hydian Way, and you can find me, Ben, on Twitter at Deuterium Ice.
You can find me at 12th Night. That's 12th Night with a K.
And we are at thehydianway.com, where you can find previous episodes.
You can find more episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Plus, you can help us out by rating, reviewing, and subscribing.
We are also on Facebook as The Hydian Way, and you can holocom us at heroes@thehydianway.com.
If you like what we do and you want to support the show, you can find us at patreon.com/thehydianway.
Or you can send us some CAF at ko-fi.com/thehydianway. Sorry, I opened up the Wooks.
That's okay. I had to go find his name.
Well, I opened up Skier's entry on the Wook, and is the most perfect quote from him.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So, just for your head, this is probably get cut, but it's very much a like the elevator from Wrath of Khan that Kirk takes. Just
That,
slow going and single person.
I actually, where my head was, I guess this may not be one person, but I was thinking about the elevator and engineering on the NX-01.
Yeah, that's another good one. That also crossed my head. Yeah.